Hey friends, another week, another episode. And this, as a warning, was completely unplanned. Like, completely. There is no notes. We're just going to riff and see where we end up. And the idea came about from a couple of places. So the very first place that it came from is I have been in conversation inside of my mastermind with my new mentor, Ellie Reeves. And the other day, she just flat out told me, like, no, you're not. That's not what we're going to do. You just cannot do that in this season right now. And when I combine that with some other advice that she gave me about sharing really kind of what it's like to do the thing, to launch a business for somebody else, to launch a business for yourself, to have 3 kids at the end of the school year and try to keep your sanity, I realized that one of the reasons that you are listening to this is because I share with you what I have learned, people that I have met that have something to share that can kind of expand your horizons. And together, we can find a better way to do this whole dang thing. So what I thought would be fun is to give you kind of a behind the scenes of what exactly is going on, like literally today, like as in like the last 36 hours, so that we could chat about it and you could see how everything is starting to unfold live while I'm still living it, because I think there's some value in you just getting it shot straight without all of the answers, so that you can see that even somebody that has made it, quote unquote, I really hate using that term, they're still grappling with all of these things that all of you are grappling with on a regular basis. And now don't, tune out because you're like, I don't have kids, I don't have to worry about that, or I'm not launching businesses. This really isn't about any of those things. I think you're going to be able to pick up some tips, and I'm going to share with you what I've learned over the years that's making this busy season a heck of a lot easier than busy seasons of the past. So we're just going to keep it real and raw here, very off the cuff, and see where we end up. So no punch list of what we're going to cover today. So the long and short of it is I'm recording this in May of 2023. To be more specific, it's the Friday before Mother's Day and my oldest child turns 14. Yes, they're on the same day. I tell him all of the time if he had arrived on his due date, he would never have to share a birthday with Mother's Day. But alas, he decided to come early. This is the situation that we're dealing with. It's on him. This was all his fault. I'm joking. But no, seriously. So that's where we are. It's the Friday before Mother's Day and his birthday. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because you see, last fall, I left my corporate, stable, predictable job that I had and said heck yes to helping a founder launch some businesses. And while I'm not going to get into that, what I will say is the pivot from working in an almost 300,000 person global organization to being the single employee inside of these businesses with a couple of assists from the founder and another person, like the buck stops with me. So I went from a place where I was the puppet master and directing kind of from on high and staying very strategic to do all of the things, do that, plus roll up your sleeves and figure it out, get the work done, generate, push. And the upside for me is that I love to work that way. So when I had made that decision and I made the change in late November, early December, what I realized very quickly was the landscape was shifting. And so at the same time that I had made that decision, I had decided that we were going to have this podcast and build this community together and some other ideas for things I wanted to launch that are going to be coming next month for all y'all. And I had this timeline in my head kind of what was going on. And as things do, timelines shift, because that's reality. Whether you're in that humongous corporation or you're in a small business, rarely ever does somebody pick a timeline or a due date or a milestone and it stays the same. It just doesn't, because life happens. And so as I was rounding the bend into first quarter, I realized that everything was going to sort of culminate likely in the month of May. And so the very first thing is I saw this thing coming, like solidly 4 months out, maybe even 5, to be quite candid. I knew that all of the bricks that I was laying in the foundation were going to create this massive push to finish the house construction in May. I could see it coming. And so my first thing that I want to share with you is that because of all of the experience that I had, and I had my head up and I was driving towards the horizon and I knew what was in the rearview mirror, I knew that all of these things were going to collide. So I had a ton of warning. And now I could have made a bunch of decisions. I could have decided to delay things. I could have decided to slow down. I could have done a bunch of things. And instead I said, nope, we picked the dates are the dates. We're just going to drive. We're just going to get it done. We're going to get to that shoreline come hell or high water. Now, that's me. To be very clear, I am, in human design terms, a manifesting generator, more generator, which means you give the girl work to do and she is alive. She loves it. She just, will break her back to get things done. And I did this all with awareness. I knew exactly what I was doing. And so I decided not to adjust any timelines. And I had plenty of time to build the foundation and the walls of the house and do all of the things. And we're now in this week that we are officially in the busiest month of the year for school-age children. It just is. I don't know why we as adults do this to ourselves. Educational professionals and parents alike could make decisions that we just don't do this. We could reorganize when Teacher Appreciation Week is. We can reorganize when all of the field trips collapse onto each other. We could reorganize when open house happens so that we're not compressing an entire school year's worth of fun outside of school hours activities into 4 weeks. But alas, I have had a child in school for 9 years. This is what we do, folks. So we've got that going on. And then also the thing that I couldn't really control was this business that I'm building for a founder. As it so happens, we're about to launch our product into the marketplace like in the next week or so, also in May. And then as luck would have it, with some other business ventures that I am creating, I also made a decision earlier this year that there was going to be some June things that were going to happen. And that means a bunch of work has to happen now. So I'm juggling kids. Oh, and I should mention it's baseball season in our house. And if you don't know us well, all of my kids play baseball and my husband coaches. And so nobody's ever home. Like nobody's ever home. In fact, my youngest child opened the refrigerator last night and he goes, "Mom, it's so clean in here." And I said, well, that's because there's no food in there, because it's true. We kind of look like a bachelor's paradise with a ton of condiments and cheese and eggs and not a lot else. I digress anyway. So needless to say, we are busy. And as I'm reflecting back and deciding to share this topic and this conversation with you, I have done this to myself before. Many a time. And usually it sneaks up on me and then it ends and I get horribly ill. Horribly. Worst cold of your life, the flu, strep throat, whatever it might be. Generally, seasons of high stress equate to me running myself into the ground and having a problem. In fact, pre-COVID, I had not had a Christmas break, kind of the period between Christmas and New Year's, where I wasn't in bed sick for days on end, because that was when I finally stopped moving for a minute. My body was like, oh yeah, here's all the germs. You can go collapse now. So with all of this awareness, what I also knew was I had made decisions, my timelines were going to stay intact. I made decisions that all of these things were going to collide together. And generally, when I do this, I end up horribly sick. So I sat myself down, put on my big girl pants, and I sat myself down and I said, what's going to be the priority? When we get to that place where all of the things collide, what has to win in this season? And we talk about this a lot here on the podcast. And I'm talking to you about setting boundaries, and I'm talking to you about planning ahead, and I'm talking to you about, kind of steering intentionally your life and your career. This is the very first place that you start. You sit still and you ask yourself, and you're honest also with yourself, and you say, what's the priority right now? In order for us to get all of this stuff done, something has to win. And in this season, the thing that wins is the business that I'm starting for somebody else. Now, I'm sure that those of you that are parents have all sorts of feelings about this. I'm sure you're in your feels about this. What do you mean? It's the business that wins. But she just said that her children have all of these sports and her children have all of these after school activities and all of this stuff is going on and the business wins. Well, yes, friends, the business wins because I knew from the beginning when I said yes to this job that for at least the first year, if not longer than that, and likely because of the business model that we're in, there will be repeated seasons of this. The business is going to win. And the business is going to win because this is our livelihood. This makes all of the other things possible. We don't play baseball if this business doesn't win. We don't go on vacations if the business doesn't win. We don't do all of these things if the business doesn't win. So yes, right now, today, in the month of May in 2023, that business wins. It gets all of my best energy. It gets any attention that it needs. It gets me walking around with a second phone on nights and weekends and at games. It gets the best of me. And so here's the difference between how this would come to pass in history of Melissa Franks, the worker, versus how it's coming to pass now. Historically, when the world collides on itself like this, I didn't see it coming at all. I had blinders on. I was trying to juggle all of the things. I was definitely present where my feet were, but it meant that I was completely ignoring where my feet were not. And so I was constantly getting blindsided. Like things were flying in from all over the place. It was a freaking mess. And in that version of me, I took all of the pressure onto myself. The more weight that came in, the more demand on me and my time that came in, the more stuff that was getting thrown at me unexpectedly, the more I carried. Imagine for a minute that you are walking through an amusement park. I won't even put you on a mountain. And you're with a group of people. You're all headed to the same ride, all of you, and everybody's incredibly excited. And you have your backpack on, and it's, it's pretty light because you don't have a ton of stuff in there. Maybe your water bottle is half empty. You just have the stuff for you. And then somebody to the left of you says like, hey, I don't have a bag. Can you put my wallet in your backpack? So you put it in. And then somebody behind you says, oh, hey, I see you've got an empty water bottle pocket on the side of your backpack. And they put their water bottle in, which is really full of water. And then somebody in front of you goes, oh, hey, can I give you my sunglasses so I don't lose them on the water ride? And those go into your backpack. And before you know it, everybody around you is giving this stuff that you did not expect to have. And for a while, your backpack can carry it. For a while, you're putting things happily into the bag. And it's fine. And then the next thing you know, somebody hands you their sweatshirt and the backpack's full. There's no more room. So what do? You tie it around your waist. And then somebody else says, you know what? I have a sweatshirt too. Can you take it? And you're like, yeah, I guess. And so what do? You tie it around your shoulders. And then the next thing that happens is somebody hands you their hat. And before you know it, you're weighted down with everybody else's stuff. You've taken it all on. You've said yes to everything. You've said no to nothing. And you can't carry the load. By the time you get to that ride that you were so excited to get to, you're exhausted. And you're weighed down with other people's stuff that you now feel responsible for. And before you know it, they're all on the ride and you're sitting on a bench with all of the stuff and all of the exhaustion and none of the fun. And that is how I lived every busy season. Every single one. I said yes to anything that flew my way. It did not matter what it was. Family obligations, friend obligations, work obligations. Sure, throw another business trip on that. You want me to throw you a party? Cool. You want me to be the treasurer of the PTA? Got it. Take it all on. Oh, you need somebody to help with hot lunch? I can do that. I can totally do that. What else do you need? I carried that full backpack and wrapped everybody's crap around me and was exhausted. And so by the time I got to the end of the busy season where I got the reward, it was Christmas morning with the kids, or it was that family vacation, or it was the 1 week a year where we went camping and like things just didn't work, so it was quiet. I couldn't enjoy it. I was too tired. I was too sick. I was too worn out. And also I was haunted by all of the things I had left undone. See, because what happens when you carry a full backpack and a bunch of other people's crap is sooner or later that sweatshirt tied around your waist, you dropped. And you don't even realize it because you're so weighed down with other people's things that you don't know the sweatshirt was dropped. And by the time you go back to look for it, it's gone. You've lost it. And that's how every single busy season was for me. And some of these seasons, friends, were long. It wasn't like it was a week here or a week there. I'm talking 6 months and in some cases years. When I was supporting a very large merger and acquisition transaction, that sucker took 3 years. I lived that way for 3 years. And see, the kicker is that during that time, I would shut down. So I would not communicate. I absolutely did not ask for help. I did not admit that the load was too heavy for me to carry. I just took it on anyway. And there was fallout. People were angry that I dropped their sweatshirt and couldn't find it anymore. People were angry that I couldn't take on any more of their stuff because I was out of space and arms and room and body parts to carry it. People were angry that when we got to the fun part and the celebration and all of the things, and they were disappointed that I couldn't be present and enjoy it too. It was not what I would call successful. Sure, the business result got delivered. Sure, the kids got hot lunch. Sure, the books got balanced for the PTA. But something was always dramatically sacrificed. Nothing was done with quality. Everything was done to just C- level. You see, when you're so overburdened and you didn't see it coming, you can't prepare. And this exact same scenario, if you're at the amusement park and you have an empty backpack and people around you are trying to give you your stuff, and you know that that's going to happen, you know what you have? You've reserved a locker where everybody can put their stuff. And you know where they are and how close they are. Or you know what happens is you make sure that they all have a backpack before you get out of the car at the amusement park so they can carry their own crap. When you see it coming, when you pick your head up and you understand what's going to come at you, you prepare. And when you prepare, you have a better outcome. So I lived, I don't even know how many busy seasons this way. They all ended the same. The results were achieved. And I sacrificed just about everything else. And when I left the machine that enabled me and required me to operate that way and did not give me the tools to do it differently, because let's face it, friends, there's a way to do this differently. What I'm describing to you right now is not how it has to happen. This is how it happens because you're not given the tools to figure out how to do it. Because in order for you to have the tools to figure out how to do it, you have to understand how your life and your career intersect. And then you have to intentionally say, how do I want them to coexist? But businesses don't want you to figure that out. Businesses want you to say yes to anything that comes your way. Businesses want you to carry more of the load. Businesses want you to prioritize them. And so, understanding all of those things, this is what I'm doing differently now. As I started this podcast, I told you, I saw this coming. I knew with pretty much 100% certainty that this month was going to be difficult. I knew that this month was going to be where everything just collides. I knew that this month was going to test me in ways I had never been tested before. And that's because I was going to prepare for this month unlike I had ever had before. So what does that mean, Melissa? What are you saying? We don't understand. Welcome to being inside of my brain. No, very seriously. So I saw this coming. I knew. And so I said, so what can we do? What can we do? The very first thing that we did was say, what is the priority? And as I shared with you, the business is the priority. This month, the business wins. Okay, so that's the priority. Now we know how we're filtering every single decision, every single one. So the next thing that I did and continue to do today, tomorrow, next week, through the entire period that we were in is say no. I have been ruthless in protecting my time and my calendar. I have said no to my children getting driven around in extra circles because they want to go watch their friends play baseball. I have said no to scheduling any sort of doctor appointment, including the orthodontist, for the month of May. I have said no to networking events. I have said no to spending time with friends. I have said no to attending fundraising galas. I say no over and over and over and over because I know that this season is going to be busy, which means I need as much time as possible. And anything that's optional and is not a priority and is a nice to have can't happen now. It can happen next month. We're throwing a baby shower next month on the opposite side of the country. Let's effing go. It's not happening now. I can tell you that. So nothing is happening this month that isn't absolutely critical. So I'm saying no. That's the first thing I'm doing. The second thing that I'm doing is I am asking for help at every opportunity. Every single one. Last night, my kid stayed after practice to watch a baseball game, and my sister volunteered to bring him home. And I said, yes, thank you. I took the help. I had a 12-hour day yesterday. I didn't want to drive a mile to pick him up. I took the help. Whenever help is being offered, in whatever form it is being offered, including my mentor telling me to not take any more commitments on this month, I'm taking the help. And I am not embarrassed about that. My sister is also, because she is a lovely human, hosting Mother's Day and a dinner for my son at her house. Because I do not have the bandwidth to get my house clean, and God help me, we have 4 dogs and it's a disaster in there, and I can't do it. My parents offered to source the food. She offered to host at her house. I said yes without even thinking twice. I'm taking the help wherever it is coming from. That's the second thing. The third thing that I'm doing is I am over communicating, which was something I never did before. Anybody that will listen, I am telling them what the priorities are for the month. Anybody, my children, my husband, my family members, my friends, baseball moms at the field. Anybody wants to know? I will tell you all day long. These are my priorities. This is why I need to set up boundaries. This is why I have to say no to everything. And I will take whatever help you are willing to give me to make it through to the end. I'm communicating. But to be much more clear, In the past, I shielded my family from whatever stressors were happening that weren't a part of their world. Shit they don't care about, right? I mean, they care that I get a paycheck, but they don't really care about the ins and outs of what's happening at work. And so very clearly and consistently, as things change, I'm telling them what's going on. Guys, I can't take you to school tomorrow because I have to be in the office at 5 a.m. Guys, dad's going to take you to school for the next 2 days because I got to do this thing. Guys, mom's got to go to San Francisco because she's got something going on. Guys, mom's got a business meeting all day long, so she can't talk to you. Hey, if you try to text me or call me for the next 3 hours, I can't talk to you because I'm in video calls. I'm literally over communicating to anybody that will listen. I'm going to be an hour late to your baseball game because of this and this and this, and that's what's going on. I'm over communicating to everybody by design. And see, the magic with the communicating is that everybody's on the same page. We have calendars with schedules. They have my words over and over and over again telling them. And we all know who needs to be where and what's going on so nobody's confused. Keeping what's going on with you at work a secret from your family during a busy season is a mistake. And if you don't have a family, but you have friends, share it with them. The people that are most important in your life, that see you the most often, they need to know what's going on. They need to know what's going on for a variety of reasons. One, they want to help you. They love you. They care about you. They want to help you. They can't help you if they don't know what's going on. If they know that you're pulling late nights at work, one of them may drop dinner off on your porch. If they know that you've got to work through a weekend, they may offer to walk your dog. You have to tell the people around you what's happening, what's going on, what your time commitments are so that they don't get bent out of shape if you can't go to dinner. You have to communicate. The other benefit of that is, aside from getting the help, is that they can help you solve problems. So if there are conflicts with events, if there are overscheduling moments, if there are times where you have to decide, should I do this or should I do that? You have an outside opinion coming in to tell you what you should be doing. They know your priority. They know what's going on, and they can say, hey, you know what? I know that you really want to go to that gallery opening, but you need to sleep because you've got that big old presentation the following day. They're going to be your conscience when you forget to take care of yourself. They're going to help you stay on track with your priorities, but only if you tell them what they are. And it's going to just eliminate confusion. It's going to eliminate confusion. It's going to eliminate hurt feelings. It's going to eliminate miscommunication if you're being clear about what's going on. And let me tell you, there's no bigger time suck than having to have a conversation with somebody that you care about deeply because you didn't communicate what was going on and they're upset. You could have completely avoided that. Because you refused to communicate for 10 seconds, you lost 3 hours because you had to have a conversation. Communicate. You don't need to whine and belabor and do all the things, but you need to tell them what's going on. Okay, so that's the next thing. And then you need to take that priority. So what's the thing that's always going to win? In this case, is the business. And then you need to say, and then what wins next? Does sleep win next? Does my workout win next? Does eating the right things win next? Like, what wins next? If I know that that's a thing and then I have to make another priority, what am I going to do? And for me, it's sleep. So I didn't go for a run yesterday, even though I normally do that because I had to be in the office at 5 o'clock in the morning. But you have to figure out, like, in your personal dimensions, what's the next thing that you're unwilling to sacrifice? If it's having dinner with your family, then you have to figure it out. If it's getting your run in, then figure it out. But you have to figure out how else you're going to take care of yourself. One of the ways that I like to talk about this second priority, kind of the what comes next, is how are you going to set yourself up for success? And this is like, how are you going to set yourself up for success as a human? So during this busy season, are you going to drink more water? Are you going to sleep more? Are you going to work out more or less? Are you going to make sure that you get 30 minutes of sun so you have vitamin D? Are you going to get up and walk every 30 minutes? You have to, when you're this busy, you can get so consumed by what's happening in your brain that you forget to take care of the vessel that carries the brain. And that vessel, if it's not operating correctly, you're screwed, dude. You're just screwed. So the second priority, kind of once we figured out what's going to break the tie around where I'm going to spend my time, is how do you take care of you? And my list is pretty specific these days because at 44, I know what I need to do to feel the best that I can possibly feel. Your list is going to look different than mine, but mine's pretty simple. I'm going to get at least 7 hours of sleep a night. I'm going to keep my bedtime and my wake up incredibly consistent, even on the weekends, because I sleep better that way. I'm going to drink a crap ton of water, like over a gallon a day. No, I'm not joking. I'm not going to eat out. And if I eat out, it's going to be as clean as possible. Salads I can control. Raw sushi. Very simple and basic. I'm going to get some movement in every single day, yesterday excluded. Whether it's running, going to the gym, walking the dogs, I need to move my body. And then the other thing for me that's incredibly important, this has to do with my human design, is I need to be by myself. So part of my human design says that my battery, and I'm an introvert, that my battery recharges when I'm alone. So as much as I am incredibly busy, as much as everybody in my life wants time with me, I also have to find moments to just be alone. And when I say alone, I don't mean working alone. I mean alone doing something that recharges my battery. Reading, watching a little bit of mindless reality TV, something along those lines where I'm quiet and I'm still, but I'm also not thinking. I'm not physically using my body. And that's important to me. That's not important to everybody else. But that's kind of the other thing is I need to sleep. I need to be eating well. I need to be hydrating myself. And I need to make sure that I'm taking care of my mental health. So however you take care of your mental health, you need to make sure that that's on the list. So we see the busy season coming and we set the priority and we ask for help and we're communicating. And then we figure out what else we need to prioritize in order to make all of these things happen. What do we need to do for ourselves as the human in order to make all this happen? And then once you know all of those things, you need to get crystal clear on how the busy season is going to unfold. Now, it's easy for somebody like me who has just a month. It's really just this month that's going to be crunch time. If you're looking at a busy season that spans 12 weeks or even 6 months, this gets a little more difficult. So if you have a very small window of time where it's crunch time, I recommend that you plan by day or by week. So for me, because of how everything's going on, I look at everything a week out. So right now we're planning for next week. It's Friday when I'm recording this. So right now we're planning for next week. What's coming up next week? What school events do we have? What field trips do we have? What do I have on the docket from the business? How am I spending my time during the day? What extracurriculars do we have? Do I need to go to this thing or not go to that thing? We're looking a week out. Some people, it might help them to look a week out. It might help them to look a day out. If my busy season was 3 or 6 months long, I'd be looking at a month out, and then I'd be doing the week out in the month that I'm in. So here's what I mean. If I see a busy season coming and I say, ooh, in 2 months, we're going to be real busy for the next 6, then I sit down and I say, what are the most important things that we know about right now that are going to happen in each of those 6 months? Birthdays, anniversaries, family events, concert tickets that you bought a year ago, business milestones, whatever it might be. You lay all that out over the 6 months. And then as you're approaching the month that you're about to enter into, that's where you break it down and you do the week by week. What does the first week, the second week, the third week, the fourth week? Because now you know the details. And because you already know what your priority is, so what you picked as the winner, you know how you're going to be taking care of yourself as a human, then you can kind of lay out exactly what's going on. And that's when you start the asking for help. and saying no. So you start to look out and you say, what of this can I say no to? What can I just take off the list? And then what is a yes and I need help? And then you start communicating and asking for help and doing all the things. And then you just work that through. You just work it through. Now, it's going to look different from everybody, but this is how you thrive in a busy season. This is how you come out the other side with energy and a willingness to jump right back into a busy season. Not that I recommend it. And it's how you're healthy at the end. And also, you know what it is? You have better results. Yes, because when you're not distracted, when you're rested and healthy, you're more productive. See, the grind that I went through for most of my career, where I got slammed by a busy season I didn't know was coming, and then I lived through it for way too long and had this crash and burn at the end, I wasn't my most productive. Those busy seasons could have ended faster. They could have, in some instances, probably been a half or a third of the time that we spent. Because when you're reacting to everything that's happening around you and you're having to make split-second decisions based on the circumstances, you can't look ahead and you can't look beyond where you're at right now, and you don't see the ripple and the consequences. And so you end up doing things 2 or 3 times. You end up scrambling to figure out how to do something. You end up making 10 phone calls to get help instead of 1. When you're not prepared and you don't see it coming, you lose your productivity edge. With this approach, when you do have your head up, when you do see the busy season coming, when you do spend a little bit of time asking yourself all these questions and doing all of these actions, you're more productive because your distractions are gone. You don't have to worry about who's taking the kids and picking them up anymore because it's not you. You don't have to worry about that recurring friends dinner because you already said no this month. You don't have to worry about who's going to walk the dog because you already hired a dog walker. When you see the busy season coming and you plan, you become more productive because you're more focused. That means that you can end this season of busy faster. It means you can do so with better quality. It means that you can do so with intentionality. And the best part about this entire process, if you follow it, is that you are intentional about how you live your life and you fold your career into it. You are the author of this marriage. You are the author of this book. You are the one that says, this is how we're going to intentionally coexist. This is how I can have the job that I want, the business success that I want, and the life I deserve and cherish. This is not an either or. Either I get to have the career where I'm super busy and high profile, or I get to have the life where I'm fulfilled and loved. This is an and. You can have that high caliber, high profile, go career and love and enjoy your life. All that it requires is the right tools and structure and support system and somebody from the outside telling you when you get off track. Nothing that I shared with you just now is complicated. In fact, it's quite simple. In fact, in business, we do it all the time when we're planning projects. The complication is that we're not taught this at work. We're not taught how to fold our lives and our careers together so they are a magical existence together. Nobody sits you down when you start your career and says, here are the things you need to watch out for. This is how you handle a busy season. This is how you handle life-changing events. Nobody does. So if you have nothing else that you take away from today's episode, and this messy, all over the place, full of analogies sort of situation, it's that the best way to approach a busy season is with awareness and a plan. If you do that, and then you execute against the plan, you're going to be more productive. You're going to be healthier. You're going to be more fulfilled. And you're going to enjoy your job and your life a whole heck of a lot more than you did in your last busy season. Being intentional with where you put your focus, how you set your priorities, and when you take action is the key to having an intentional career. Busy seasons happen. There will never be a time professionally that you don't have moments of busy and moments of slow. And it's how you operate in each that defines you as an employee, as a leader, as a mentor, as a human. So don't you want to do it the easier way? Doesn't it make more sense to spend a little bit of time being aware of what is coming and making a plan for it than to just haphazardly run through it? I'm in the midst of it right now, and I can tell you there is. I can tell you because I planned for my 12-hour day yesterday that I, in fact, had all of the children handled. They were taken to school and they were picked up. They were taken to practice and they were brought home. And they figured out their dinner on their own, which meant that I could come home at the end of the day and literally be exhausted. And it was okay because everything was taken care of. Having awareness and building a plan means that you can protect yourself in the moments where you need to be protected. So if you're staring down a busy season, or you think that you have one coming up 3 or 6 months from now, take these tips inside of this podcast today and give it a go. And when you do, tell me how it's going. I want to hear, is this working for you as well as it's been working for me? Are you more relaxed and enjoying the busy season more because you have the plan? What is going on? So what I want you to do is that in your next busy season, come back to this podcast, or as you see a busy season coming, come back to this podcast, follow the plan that I've laid out for you. The plan will also be inside of the show notes, so you can get a freebie for how to survive a busy season. And I want you to DM me on Instagram and tell me how it's going. What's challenging you? What's difficult? What do you love? How do you feel? All the things. So that's what I got for you today. It's very rambly. Hope you got something out of it. Very excited to hear how your next busy season goes. And until then, please share this with somebody who needs it. And remember, you are wise, you are strong, and you are capable. And I believe in you. Until next time, friends.